minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, the contest will begin in 5 minutes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, and welcome to the 87th National Finals of the American Legion's High School Oratorical Scholarship Program, a constitutional speech contest. We would also like to welcome those who are joining us via the internet, on Legion TV, and on Facebook. We're excited that you are here with us today. My name is Dave King, and I will be serving as your moderator today. At this time, would everyone please rise and remain standing through our pledge. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. And salute. Two. To lead us in our invocation this morning is the Reverend Karen Street. Please uncover.
Good morning, everyone, and God bless you. Let us pray. Most gracious and eternal God, we come before you according to our faith. We gather in this auditorium at Hillsdale College with grateful hearts for every young person who has taken part in this year's National Oratorical Contest. We honor the dedication of all participants in their study of our Constitution. Now we lift up the top 3 finalists who stand ready to speak with courage, clarity, and purpose. Bless each finalist with calm spirits and steady minds. Surround them with your peace as they share the gifts you have placed within them. Let their words reflect the character, the strength and promise you have placed within them. Let their words reflect the strength, character, and promise. And we also thank you for every family member, mentor, coach, educator, and supporter whose guidance and encouragement help bring these students to this moment. The American Legion is steadfast in its commitment to citizenship and service as it continues to shape the character of our nation's youth. And to this, Lord, we are grateful. May today's speeches inspire us, unite us, and remind us of the bright future carried in the hearts of our youth. Amen.
Would you please join Mr. Tony Paternostro in our Pledge of Allegiance?
Please face the colors of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please recover and be seated. This morning, 3 contestants, each having won their respective department, national quarterfinal, and national semifinal contest round will compete for $67,500 of scholarship for college. In the over 80 years of history in this activity, the American Legion has awarded over $6 million to college scholarships. You'll notice that the three contestants are not in the auditorium at this time. Throughout the competition portion, they will appear on stage only to deliver their respective orations. I have some instructions for you, the audience. You play a key role in maintaining fairness to all of the contestants. First, please do not applaud until the contest has been completed. I would ask you to refrain from taking pictures or videos. There will be plenty of time for photos after the contest has ended. A staff photographer will be taking pictures of each contestant during the first few minutes of their prepared oration. Please remain in your seat while a contestant is speaking. If you must leave the room between speakers, please return before the next speaker begins. Otherwise, you will not be permitted to re-enter the room once the speaker has begun his or her oration. In addition, please make sure that your cell phones or any other electronic devices have been silenced. If you happen to be seated near a judge, please do not disturb or call attention to that judge. Our speakers will be introduced by number only. Prompting in any manner is not permitted. Doing so may result in the disqualification of the speaker. Each speaker is about to deliver an 8 to 10 minute prepared oration on some phase of the United States Constitution. The contestants are not allowed to use notes, a podium, or a sound system. You may notice that the contestants are wearing a wireless microphone. This is to record their speech for video or online broadcast and will not in any way amplify their voices here in the auditorium. The contestants will be shown a time card in the 8, 9, and 10-minute mark of their prepared oration. If there is a violation of the time requirement, a penalty of 1 point for each minute or fraction thereof shall be assessed against the contestant's total score. There will be a short pause between contestants to allow the judges time to mark their scorecards. Before introducing the last speaker, I will ask our national commander to draw an assigned topic from one of the four provided. When the last contestant has spoken for 7 minutes on the prepared oration, contestant number 1 will be taken to a private room and given the topic card and allowed 5 minutes to prepare his or her assigned oration. I will prepare the assigned topic. I will tell you about it before contestant number 1 is introduced. If everyone is ready, I will now call for contestant number 1. The title of his oration is "The Electoral College and Our Constitution."
The year is 1787. In a hot and stuffy room sit 39 representatives of the colonies in the newly formed United States of America. And they are arguing over how our now liberated country should be governed. See, following in the wake of the failed Articles of Confederation, the draft of our Constitution, the greatest work in political history, is being built article by article and section by section. And central to these debates is the question of how the unitary executive, the President of the United States, should be chosen. Why is this time, this snapshot in history from early June to late August of 1787 so important? What about this moment is so essential to the preservation of our nation and the creation of our Constitution? Well, see, we in the modern day know that through the course of these debates, the Constitutional Convention adopted Virginia Representative Edmund Randolph's plan for presidential election, which called upon the states to nominate electors who would cast their vote for president proportional to state population. In the modern day, we call this plan the Electoral College, and it is our method of selecting a successor to our first president, George Washington. And it is arguably the least understood, yet certainly the most distinctive part of our Constitution. See, prior to the ratification of our Constitution, under the Articles of Confederation, the national legislature was charged with selecting a successor to the president from amongst its ranks. Our founders, however, knew that this method of election couldn't be continued for long because it compromised the independence of our legislative and executive branches. Our founders knew that combining these two branches in such a manner would essentially nullify the intricate system of checks and balances which they had worked so hard to instill throughout our Constitution and our government. Indeed, the Pennsylvania representative to the Constitutional Convention, Governor Morris, claimed that, quote, if the legislature elects, it will be the work of intrigue, of cabal, and of faction. It will be like the election of a pope by a conclave of cardinals, and rarely will real merit ever be the title to the appointment, end quote. Now, the other proposed election method at this time, untried in our country, yet with much support, called upon the people themselves to directly elect a successor to the president. In essence, it called for what we know as pure democracy. Many of our founders, however, all of them great students of history, knew that this method of election would never be conducive to personal liberty. Indeed, Alexander Hamilton himself claimed that, quote, all the ancient democracies in which the people themselves deliberated never possessed one good form of government. Their very figure was tyranny and their character deformity, end quote. Furthermore, our founders feared that if direct democracy were allowed to flourish, then certain heavily populated geographic areas, like the cities already springing up along our nation's eastern coast, would end up dictating all policy to our nation. Our founders wished our union to remain cohesive and whole, and they intended to ensure this by spreading the electoral power throughout our country. Additionally, our founders wished to enhance the interest of minority faction groups in our seat of government, which they knew would be impossible in a direct democracy, because a direct democracy is often never much more than a tyranny of the majority. Well, it was in response to these two proposed election methods that Representative Edmund Randolph proposed his plan for presidential election, outlined in Article 2 to the Constitution. Article 2 combined elements from each of these prior proposed election methods and outlined for us the Electoral College, our method of selecting a president every 4 years. Now, despite certain revisions since its ratification, Article 2 to the Constitution still remains relatively the same. It states, quote, each state shall appoint in such a manner as their legislatures thereof may direct, a number of electors equal to the whole number of representatives and senators which that state is entitled to in the Congress. These electors shall meet in their respective states and cast their vote by ballot for 2 persons, and they shall make a list of the persons voted for, the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign, certify, and transmit sealed to the seat of government of the United States of America, end quote. See, under the original Article 2, each state legislature chose the electors who would cast their vote for president. Now, this has since changed in our country with the ratification of the 12th Amendment. Now, electors are determined by the result of each state's popular vote, and electors are nominated by the political party to which each candidate belongs. Thus, when you cast your vote in a presidential election, you don't actually vote for your candidate, but rather for your candidate's electors, who in their turn will cast their vote for your candidate. Electoral votes are awarded based upon the number of electors which each state receives, which is in turn proportional to state population. Now, despite its not being a state, the District of Columbia is given 3 electoral votes under the 23rd Amendment. States award their electoral votes to the winner of each state's popular vote, with 2 exceptions. Maine and Nebraska award the majority of their electoral votes to the winner of the state's popular vote, but then a small fraction of their votes to the winner of the most congressional districts within that state. Now, the reason the Electoral College is so important, then, is that it prevents all the things that our founders feared, which were pure democracy and the tyranny that would surely accompany it, or a combination of the legislative and executive power and the corruption and intrigue that would surely follow. See, the Electoral College contains elements of legislative choice as outlined originally in the Articles of Confederation, and yet still allows for the voice of the people to be heard in a presidential election, because our government is at its core by the people, of the people, and for the people. The Electoral College has ensured national unity by preventing the concentration of voting power in the hands of residents of major cities. The Electoral College has guaranteed for us a separation of powers throughout our Constitution and our government. The Electoral College has enhanced minority faction interests in our seat of government by giving them a voice at the state level when they would be swamped at the national level. And finally, the Electoral College has ensured that federalism and state sovereignty are preserved. See, under our Constitution, the states are the principal entity within our union, and it is upon them that the power of choosing the unitary executive, the man or the woman, who will hold all the states together, primarily falls. And the Electoral College ensures this by placing the most important voting power in the hands of the states, since they ultimately determine who is sworn in as president. In this same vein, the Electoral College acts as a brake upon presidential overreach. For if a president, having won in a popular vote, were to claim a general mandate with the majority of our nation's population backing him, and use that general mandate to override the will of Congress and of the states, well, then this would mean the dissolution of Congress, since Congress is nothing more than our state's voice at the national level, and eventually the abolition of the states themselves as independent entities within our union, and they would be replaced by nothing more than mere administrative districts of a very large, very powerful, and most likely tyrannical national government. To conclude, the Electoral College, despite many misunderstandings both in our founders' time and even in our own time, still remains an essential part of our very rich Constitution. While on the surface it does appear outdated and cumbersome, in reality, we owe the success and the stability of our nation to our founders for having developed this election method. For without the Electoral College, we would not be, nor could we be, the nation we are today. Thus, let us be eternally grateful to our founding fathers for having developed such a revolutionary and such a genius method of election.
The time for contestant number 1, 9 minutes and 11 seconds. There is no time penalty. If everyone is ready, I will call for contestant number 2. The title of her oration is Dinner Table Politics.
My first introduction to politics was when I was 6. Don't talk politics at the dinner table. At the time, I was confused. And then I thought, why? Why not talk politics at the dinner table? At 16, I got my answer. My entire family was gathered for Thanksgiving dinner, and our president had just been elected. My grandpa commented that it was a sign our country was going downhill. My second cousin responded that our president was going to make America great again. The table went silent. My grandpa and my cousin stared at each other. At that moment, I understood why people said, "Don't talk politics at the dinner table." But then, miraculously, they both smiled, and the tension disappeared. However, over the last 2 years, I've noticed that conversations between my grandpa and my cousin about politics have disappeared. They no longer even mention our president's name, ICE, or the war in Iran. I believe that across America and households just like my own, family members and close friends are also choosing to stop talking about politics. It is hard to talk about something as personal as politics. We don't want to create those awkward moments, and we don't want to jeopardize our relationships. But when we choose to stop talking to our friends, our family, and our fellow Americans about politics, we choose to sacrifice our union. Our Constitution was born in the fire of passionate and often contentious political discussion. On May 25th, 1787, 55 of our delegates gathered at the Constitutional Convention. They were there to create a new government, one where there was a strong central government, but it was held accountable by the people. Over the course of 97 days and nights of constant political discussion, argument, writing and rewriting, the delegates finally managed to create the Constitution. 39 of the 55 delegates signed off on it, and they sent it to the states for ratification. But the debate wouldn't end there. Historian Pauline Maier famously said that during the period of ratification, debate over the Constitution exploded. People were talking about it in pubs over pints of beer. They were talking about it at the dinner table. And they were even talking about it in church pews, where the Constitution was discussed even more so than the Bible. 85 Federalist Papers written and published in the newspapers to tell people that they needed a stronger central government. And 16 Bruce Papers were written to warn people of a tyrannical national government. Through all this national discussion came one product, the Bill of Rights. 10 amendments that continue to safeguard our rights as individuals and the rights of our states against a strong federal government. Our Constitution has upheld its promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for almost 250 years because it continues to prioritize the two very things that helped create it: discussion and disagreement. 3 parts do this. The first part is Article 1, Section 2. This mandates that members of the House of Representatives are elected every 2 years by the people. These frequent elections ensure Congress has a, in the words of Federalist Paper number 52, quote, immediate dependence on and intimate sympathy with the people, end quote. Each of our votes, each of our voice directly shapes who is elected to our government and what they do. The second part is Article 5. The Amendment Clause. Now, this is my personal favorite because I believe the amendment embodies the essence of our Constitution. The preamble of our Constitution begins with, quote, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union," end quote. The 27 amendments to our Constitution are 27 pieces of evidence that American political discussion can identify problems and create solutions. The third part is the First Amendment, and this is probably best described by anti-federalist paper Letter to the Federal Farmer number 16. Quote, "A free press is a channel of communication that people of large countries ascertain each other's sentiments, are enabled to unite, and become formidable against those rulers who adopt improper measures." End quote. Our founders wrote the First Amendment to ensure that we would always have the ability to freely express ourselves and to be influenced by those around us. Every discussion, every interaction, new piece of information, and new thought can literally shape how we see the entire world. If you think about it, every discussion is an opportunity for us to reevaluate our government and to pressure it when it needs to change. 13 years after the ratification of our Constitution, our democracy faced its first test, the election of 1800. Two powerful political parties had risen, the Federalists and the Democrat Republicans. Over the course of the election, political disagreement became so intense that John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, the two opposing presidential candidates who had once crafted the Declaration of Independence together and had dedicated their entire lives to fighting for the cause, refused to speak. Our nation also refused to speak. On the week of the election, citizens from both political parties rioted at Capitol Hill, and they threatened to storm it if the election did not go their way. It is May 17th, 2026, and the vicious political polarization that was present in the election of 1800 now threatens our republic. It is directly caused by a lack of political education and discussion. According to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, in February of 2024, over 70% of U.S. voters cannot list the three branches of government, the number of Supreme Court justices, or even tell you what branch of government is responsible for transforming bills into laws. Only 4 states, Idaho, Louisiana, Virginia, and West Virginia, required their high schoolers to take a full year of civics and pass the course. This lack of political education nationwide makes it even harder for us to engage in political discussion, a problem directly quantified by the Pew Research Center in February of this year. The study found that over 56% of Americans, 56% of Americans refuse to talk to their family members, their close friends, and their fellow Americans after they said something they disagreed with. After the election of 1800, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson did not speak for more than 12 years. However, on New Year's Eve of 1812, John Adams chose to reignite their friendship. He wrote Jefferson a letter saying, quote, "You and I ought not to die before we've explained ourselves to each other," end quote. That sentence captures the spirit of America. We are a beautiful country full of free thought and opinion, and our freedom to completely express ourselves means that it is inevitable that we disagree with each other. But we have continued to survive and evolve as a nation for almost 250 years because we have always decided that no matter how intense our disagreement, we will always choose to come back together. We will always choose to find common ground with each other. We will always choose to remember that all of us stand for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. On July 4th of 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both passed away. Although Jefferson had passed away just hours before, John Adams's last words were, "Jefferson survives." If we, as a nation, just like John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, can choose to come back together, find common ground, listen, understand each other, and respect each other, America survives. My first introduction to politics at 6 was, "Don't talk politics at the dinner table." I wish my introduction was more nuanced. We shouldn't just talk politics at the dinner table. We should discuss it, listen to each other, and respect each other. As I was crafting the speech, I began talking to my family members, including my grandpa and my cousin, about their politics. I've begun listening, reading the news every day, trying to understand, and yes, politely disagreeing. These are small choices, but I believe they make a positive change. Each one of us can help create a more perfect union if we choose to sit down at the dinner table and discuss politics.
The time for contestant number 2 is 9 minutes and 58 seconds. There is no time penalty. And before I introduce contestant number 3, we will draw the assigned topic. National Commander of the American Legion, Dan K. Wiley, would you please stand, be recognized, and will you please come forward and select an envelope? I will announce the topic following the prepared oration given by contestant number 3. If everyone is ready, I will call for contestant number 3. The title of her oration is The Role of Religion in Civic Duty.
In 1935, there were roughly 18,000 Christian pastors in Germany. 3,000 of them supported Hitler. 3,000 of them were against him. But 12,000 pastors refused to take a stand at all. 12,000 men, each representing congregations of thousands more, stood silently as men, women, and children were slowly stripped of their rights, their dignity, and ultimately their lives. In the name of neutrality, they stayed silent, keeping the church out of the political sphere. But what if they hadn't? What if even a fraction of those men had said something? How many lives might they have saved? We look back on that moment and we wonder how so many could remain silent in the face of such evil. Yet the same lie that disillusioned Germans in the 1930s is well and alive in America today. I have always been politically active, interning in both my state and federal governments while working with various political organizations. I once gave a speech talking about my political advocacy, and I received pushback, not from people who disagreed with my politics, but from fellow religious people who said that because of my religious beliefs, I needed to keep my political convictions to myself. According to a poll by the Barna Group, only 16% of religious people in this country believe that they should advocate for or enact social change in their local communities, meaning that the vast majority of religious people in this nation believe that just like the German church, they should stay neutral and stay out of politics. However, our Constitution relies upon religion. As President George Washington once said, quote, "Religion and morality are the essential pillars of a civil society," end quote. Yet modern America has taken the phrase the separation of church and state to mean that we need a secular public square entirely devoid of one foundational pillar. The First Amendment was not designed to limit our expression of religious or political beliefs. Instead, it was designed to protect our right to that expression. The modern misunderstanding of the separation of church and state is not protecting our republic. It actually deprives it of the very civic virtue it needs to survive. Today, the separation of church and state is a phrase that is everywhere. Pew Research reveals that 73% of Americans believe that religion should be kept entirely separate from government. However, this view has no basis in the actual wording of the Constitution. According to Cornell Law School, the First Amendment's Establishment Clause simply prohibits the government from making laws about establishments of religion or the free exercise of religion. It was not designed to limit our expression of religious or even our political convictions, nor was it designed that religious values should be sectioned off from the political sphere. So where did the idea that church and state should never intermingle come from? In 1802, Thomas Jefferson wrote a famous letter to the Danbury Baptists to reassure them about government overreach. Within this letter, he wrote, quote, "The whole American people, which declare that their government should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state," end quote. These words have become the foundation of law and social perception of religion within our country today. However, Jefferson himself did not believe the modern interpretation that utilizes his words. Jefferson also wrote the religious statute for state freedom for the state of Virginia. Within this law, he writes that, quote, "All men shall be free to profess and by argument to maintain their opinions in matters of religion, and the same shall in no wise diminish, enlarge, or affect their civil capacities," end quote. In short, Jefferson's wall of separation was a one-way wall. It was designed to keep the government from regulating religion, not to keep religious individuals from expressing their political opinions from a religious basis. Yet, over time, this wall was weaponized. In 1954, then-Senator Lyndon B. Johnson introduced an amendment to the U.S. tax code, prohibiting churches and nonprofit organizations from taking a stand on political issues. The amendment said if they did, their tax exemption would be repealed. Many pastors and nonprofit leaders grew afraid of exercising their own constitutional rights. The 1954 Johnson Amendment didn't just target politics, it effectively put a price tag on the First Amendment, telling churches and nonprofits that their right to speak was only free as long as it wasn't influential. We see this mindset in the case of Coach Joe Kennedy. When he knelt in quiet prayer at the 50-yard line after a football game, not forcing any students to join him, his school district treated his personal expression of faith as a constitutional violation. They argued that as a government employee, his faith was an illegal establishment of religion. However, the Supreme Court in 2022, in the case Kennedy v. Bremerton, shattered this misconception. The court reminded us that the First Amendment defends the citizens' right to express their religion. It does not require that their religion be kept only in private, not seen by the eyes of the public. The First Amendment forbids government coercion and hostility when it comes to our freedom of expression. Yet the question still remains: why did our founding fathers defend our right to religious and political expression so fiercely? The answer lies in the necessity of civic virtue. Now, while our founding fathers were influenced by Greece, Rome, and the Enlightenment, they were also influenced by the Bible and a culture that was largely religious. According to the American Heritage Education Foundation, quote, "The Bible was a very strong and direct influence on founding-era Americans who drafted and ratified our Constitution," end quote. Religion was a necessary influence on our founders. Our founding fathers understood that no piece of parchment, no matter how brilliantly drafted, could preserve our Constitution if the hearts of its people lost their moral compass. This idea they called civic virtue. And our founding fathers believed that religion was one of the most powerful sources of that virtue. As President John Adams warned, quote, "Our Constitution is made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other," end quote. The Constitution, Adams states, provides the structure for liberty, but it does not provide the character required to sustain it. When individuals retreat from the public square in the name of a misunderstood separation, they do not protect our Constitution. They deprive it of the very civic virtue it needs to survive. Thus, the right and the responsibility of every American is to bring their values, religious or not, into the public square, ensuring that our laws remain rooted in the principles of justice. We see this idea in the life of the man William Wilberforce. At the age of 21, Wilberforce was a rising star in the British Parliament. However, at 25, he experienced a profound conversion to Christianity and considered retiring from public service to pursue a career in ministry. However, Wilberforce realized that his faith was not actually a barrier to public service, but the very moral motivation for why he should serve. Wilberforce dedicated the next 20 years of his career to ending the slave trade in the United Kingdom. And shortly before his death, he saw the results of those efforts. Unlike the German church, Wilberforce realized that on issues of human dignity, neutrality is not noble. It is betrayal. There is a famous analogous story of Germans in church singing so loudly as to drown out the cries of Jews passing by in boxcars on a nearby railway line. I believe today that there are many Americans, religious or non-religious, who are singing when we should be stopping those boxcars. Our right and responsibility as Americans is to express our deeply held convictions, whether they come from a religious basis or not, ensuring that our Constitution remains rooted in the principles of life, liberty, and happiness. Thank you.
The time for contestant number 3, 9 minutes and 39 seconds. There is no time penalty. For the past 5 minutes, contestant number 1 has been in a private room preparing for the assigned topic presentation. The contestants will be shown a time card at the 3, 4, and 5 minute mark of their assigned topic discourse. If there is a violation of the time requirement, a penalty of 1 point for each minute or fraction thereof shall be assessed against the contestant's total score. The topic that the contestants will address during this portion of the contest is Article 6, Clause 3. The senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support the Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. I will call for contestant number 1.
Article 6, Section 3 to the United States Constitution, known as the Religious Test Clause, requires that all citizens who wish to hold public office in our country, whether elected or appointed, take an oath of loyalty to our Constitution. It also prohibits the use of a religious test as a means of discrimination against those who would wish to hold public office in our country. See, with the ban on a religious test, our founders addressed a long-standing practice of discrimination in use throughout much of Europe and even our own colonies that effectively prohibited most religions from holding public office in those countries. And together with both the First Amendment and Thomas Jefferson's affirmations to the Virginia State Legislature, Article 6, Section 3 stands as a monument to our founders' belief in freedom of religion and the separation of church and state. See, the ban on a religious test represented a significant breakaway from the practice of England and even in our own colonies. See, in England, if one wished to hold public office, one was required to take an oath of loyalty to the Church of England. Now, as you can imagine, this effectively discriminated against all Catholics, all atheists, and most dissenting Protestant groups who wished to hold office in that country. Indeed, even in our own colonies, religious tests were employed, although these were usually just a general profession of faith and not necessarily grounded in a specific sect or religious denomination. Now, it's interesting to note that many people in our founders' time actually supported the use of a religious test. Now, this is due to two reasons. The first of which is that people in our founders' time recognized the inherently religious nature of our country's founding. And secondly, they believed that to hold public office was not a right, but a privilege. Thus, religious tests could be employed without compromising one's right to freedom of religion. Now, little record remains of the debate surrounding the creation of Article 6 to the Constitution, uniquely amongst the rest of the articles. But despite this, one argument comes down to us from that time, and that is that a religious test would ultimately be futile, since men without principle would lie on their test of religion and thus be allowed to hold public office, while men of honesty and upright principles would answer honestly on their test of religion and thus be barred from serving the public. Little judicial ruling exists about Article 6, Section 3, primarily due to the First Amendment right, which heavily overshadows it. Despite this, there have been a couple major court cases pertaining to the Religious Test Clause, and the first of these took place in the early 1840s, where the Supreme Court ruled that while the national government could not require a religious test, individual state governments could. Later, however, in 1961, the Earl Warren Court ruled in a landmark Supreme Court ruling that religious tests, whether at the national, the state, or the local level, were ultimately unconstitutional since they violated one's right to freedom of religion. Simultaneously, however, the court ruled that to bar someone from holding public office if they held religious office at the same time was unconstitutional, since that would violate their right to freedom of religion. Finally, the Supreme Court here ruled that it is unconstitutional for an elected official to take into account one's religion when considering them for an appointed position, such as Supreme Court justice. To conclude, Article 6, Section 3, while not necessarily the most well-known, is incredibly essential to our Constitution. It prevents those who hold public office from seeking their own good at the expense of our nation by forcing them to take an oath of loyalty to our Constitution, and it also bans religious discrimination in our country and cements firmly in place our founders' belief in the separation of church and state and religious freedom.
The time for contestant number 1, 4 minutes, 25 seconds. There is no time penalty. Ladies and gentlemen, contestant number 2.
Why did God create Adam before Eve? Because you always need a rough draft before you make the perfect coffee. And just like our Constitution, just like Eve, our Constitution was the product of numerous rough drafts of government, from the Articles of Confederation to the oppressive British government. Our founders took notes of the mistakes, the abuse, and the success to create our Constitution. And one of the biggest protections our Constitution promises and has continued to uphold is freedom of religion, a perfect concept. But how has our government and our Constitution, with its imperfections, managed to uphold freedom of religion for almost 250 years? The answer is Article 6, Clause 3, the No Religious Test Clause. But to fully understand this clause, we're all going to travel back in time to Great Britain in 1673. At this time, the Test Act was just passed, meaning that all government officials were required to be Anglo-Christians before they could formally serve. Great Britain passed the Test Act specifically to unify all of England under one religion. But despite its purpose to unify all of England under one religion, the Test Act created nationwide and violent religious persecution and power struggles between the Church of England and the British Parliament. our founders recognized that when government meddles in religion, there can be no freedom of religion. So they wrote Article 6, Clause 3, to best ensure that our government and religion will be separate. Article 6, Clause 3 tries its best to maintain the separation between church and state by offering three major protections. The first one is that all federal government officials must first swear to uphold the Constitution above all else. That oath of loyalty comes before any personal religious faith, ensuring that our government officials are there to uphold our Constitution first. The second major protection is the fact that all federal government officials cannot be required to take any religious tests before they enter office. This, again, is just putting more legal cement on the very idea that government and religion need to stay separate to maintain freedom of religion. But the third major protection, and this one is the most interesting, is that state governments are allowed to uphold religious tests if they choose. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, as I did, how exactly are we maintaining freedom of religion if we're allowing state governments to uphold their own religious tests as a requirement for people to serve in office? There's two answers to this question. The first is that our government and our founders wanted states to sign off on the Constitution. And they knew that if they required states to drop their religious tests, that states wouldn't ratify the Constitution. But the second reason is because our founders wanted to ensure that our federal government, when it was first beginning, would not meddle in any religious affairs, especially those of the state. But how exactly does Article 6, Clause 3 continue to apply to each of our lives today? The answer is that this February, Democracy Forward brought a lawsuit against our president. They alleged that his Religious Liberty Commission violated freedom of religion. His commission, composed of 6 to 9 religious directors of various religions, didn't include every single religion. So the lawsuit alleged that he was undermining freedom of religion. Now I want everyone in here to take a second and think about your own perspective and thoughts on this issue, okay? Hold it in there. This is the second part that actually makes Article 6, Clause 3 effective at maintaining freedom of religion. It is our continued discussion and debate about what is necessary for our government to maintain freedom of religion. Because our Constitution, just like Eve, isn't perfect. It's the best possible draft of free government our founders were able to create. But not every single word can account for every single instance and every single discussion and disagreement about what is and what is not religious freedom. That is each of our duty and responsibility as citizens to think about and to discuss with each other. That discussion, coupled with Article 6, Clause 3, is what ensures we remain one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The time for contestant number 2 is 4 minutes and 50 seconds. There is no time penalty. Ladies and gentlemen, contestant number 3.
Sir Thomas More, as Lord Chancellor of England, was one of the most powerful men in the British Empire. However, he was executed. Why? Because he failed to condone King Henry VIII's actions of breaking off from the Catholic Church. And in the eyes of the British state, a man with the wrong religious convictions was not only a man unfit for service, but unfit to live. Our founding fathers were acutely aware of the bloody altars within Europe, where wars were fought not only over the kind of religion that would be present within their country, but the very sect of Christianity that would control the very beliefs and consciences of their people. Our founding fathers believed that religion specifically was a very personal conviction, one that the government could not regulate, but that every American should have the right to not only express their religious beliefs, but to run for political office. Thus, our founding fathers included Article 6, Clause 3 within our Constitution, guaranteeing that to run as an elected representative on both the state and federal level, our governments or representatives simply have to swear or affirm the Constitution, and that their religious beliefs are not in violation of that. However, this standard was a profound departure from previous English legal precedent. English law allowed for the test acts, meaning that for someone to hold political office within England, they had to first swear allegiance to the Anglican Church and be willing to take communion. This means that if you were any religion other than Anglican, including Catholic, Jewish, Quaker, or Baptist, you were barred from serving your community. In fact, this is the very idea of why people came to our country in the first place. Puritans and the Pilgrims fled to the New World in the search for religious freedom where they could practice their beliefs without inhibition. This religious freedom was actually the foundation of America's profound love for freedom of expression. Alexis de Tocqueville, a famous French sociologist and political theorist, spent years traveling around the United States in the 1830s. He deeply analyzed American culture. And in his seminal work, Democracy in America, he writes about how the American foundation of a desire for religious freedom was the very motivation of why we love freedom of thought in the first place. With this heritage, our founding fathers drafted Article 6, Clause 3, guaranteeing 2 things. First, that for a person to serve in our government, they needed to simply swear oath or affirm the Constitution, and that however religious or non-religious they were, had no implication on that service. In fact, our founding fathers had such a deep reverence for the religious convictions of individuals that the inclusion of the word affirmation was a profound nod to religious minorities. Quakers were unable to swear oaths, and thus our founding fathers wanted Quakers to have the ability to run and serve in office, so they simply said they could affirm the Constitution. Our founding fathers recognized that religion is not what makes a man of strong integrity and character, but his character and integrity itself. We see this in an example of Abraham Lincoln. Hailed as one of the US's greatest presidents, before his historic achievements in the White House, he was actually a representative in the House of Representatives. However, during his term, the Spanish-American War broke out. Lincoln himself personally disagreed with the war. However, many of his constituents back home did not share Lincoln's belief and wanted to support the war. Thus, Lincoln stepped down from his position of power because he could not effectively uphold his oath to defend the Constitution and represent his people. Lincoln did not have to hold a specific religious position. He needed to be a man of character to protect the Constitution. The Constitution today calls upon men and women of character to uphold the principles of our nation. Many of you in this room gave your very lives or your time for that purpose. And those of us who have been able to grow up in the land of the free, thank you for that sacrifice. Our right and responsibility as young Americans, thus, is to ensure that we participate in our great American system. Thank you.
Time for contestant number 3, 4 minutes and 41 seconds. That falls within the parameters. There are no penalty points. This concludes the competition portion of this program. Will the judges please go directly to the tabulation room for the determination of contest results. At this time, we will take a short recess. I would ask that everyone would be back in their seats in approximately 20 minutes. Thank you all.
I think the best word to describe it is exhilarating.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah, it's hard. The adrenaline just rushes through you.
I was a little bit overwhelmed.
I just take a deep breath, I pray, and then I think about who I'm doing this for.
But it is so rewarding when you come out of that room knowing that you did the absolute best that you could because you put in those long hours of practice.
I'm not only doing this for me, but I'm also doing this for my family. I need to represent them, represent my legion, represent my state and my city, so I just think about that and then I go in and I give it my best.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the 86th National High School Oratorical Scholarship Program Constitutional Speech Contest.
When I hear you young people, you young men, you young ladies speak, it just makes me know that you are the future, and that future looks very bright for the United States of America. The oratorical competition is one where these young men and women have to pick a topic and they make an oration on it.
So the first thing that you do is you give an 8 to 10 minute prepared oration, which is on some aspect of the Constitution.
Then we have topics, assigned topics that we give them. And these young men and women have 5 minutes to prepare a speech that lasts 3 to 5 minutes.
You're taken into a room where you're not allowed any notes, no electronics, and then you give a 3 to 5 minute prepared speech on a drawn topic. So you do prepare technically 5 speeches. And you have to know exactly what each of those topics talks about.
Late night practices, early morning practices.
When you hear the way that these young men and women articulate, the way that they see the Constitution, it's simply amazing.
My prepared oration is constitutional literacy and how we're losing touch with constitutional literacy because we're only funding certain subjects and the percentages of what Americans do and don't know and how concerning that is.
I spoke about the Overton window, which is a theory that discusses changing ideas throughout our nation, and I touched back from 1776 to modern day and how the Constitution has shifted the needs and values of the people over time.
The Constitution and how it portrays equal rights, but it doesn't necessarily mandate equal outcomes.
Rule of law, nobody's above the law. It doesn't matter if you're a government official or if you're the president or if you're a wealthy CEO off somewhere or just a regular person, you're not above the law.
I prepared speeches on the problems with the Electoral College system, democracy, and it's about how we should protect democracy in a time where it's very fragile.
My prepared speech was about a citizen's role related to the Constitution.
The different processes and events within a democracy.
I feel like it went overall pretty well and I'm proud of my performance.
I think it went fine. I didn't forget anything, so that was good.
I thought it went pretty well. I did forget my conclusion though.
It was really great to just be able to talk to more people about my take on the 18th Amendment. Overall, I think it went really well. I think I left it out there on the floor.
There are your 3 finalists.
I've always had a passion for public speaking and debate.
Initially, I got interested because I've been doing speech and debate for a while, so I've really been into public speaking.
I'm really passionate about America and our Constitution and our government.
I thought that this would be a great opportunity for me to be able to practice my public speaking skills.
It was a huge priority of my grandfather to get more kids involved in the programs that the American Legion has.
My mom made me. I didn't want to do it at first because it just felt like a lot of work.
I'm the 4th generation of women in my family doing this contest.
I'm kind of now like a little Constitution freak, and I'm very happy she made me do that.
At the beginning, it was probably just because our whole family does it, but I was super interested in everything I learned. I remember spending hours in the library, reading over every amendment and preparing for it.
But I'm also really interested in politics and history.
Learn about our Constitution and our amendments.
I really enjoy learning about the Constitution. It's now one of my favorite things to learn about.
The value of it is understanding more about government and about the Constitution. Having so many kids from across the country, from across the world, being able to speak about the Constitution and understand how it was written, how it's developed, and why it still applies to society today is super important.
Learning the truth about what the Constitution says and what the amendments cover.
I'm actually an immigrant. I moved here when I was 8. I have a lot of love and respect for the American Constitution and democracy in general.
It was the right place for me to be able to share my message.
Meet great high school students who know so much about our Constitution and just get a wonderful experience.
Well, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, and welcome to the 86th National Finals of the American Legion High School Oratorical Scholarship Program, a constitutional speech contest.
How many of you have ever clicked yes or accept without reading the terms and conditions on your phones?
To those living centuries after him, Lucius Cincinnatus was known as a role model of civic virtue.
Imagine I'm holding a gavel in my hand. I use it today as a metaphor for the Constitution, whether it's downloading a new app, signing up for a social media account, or using an AI tool. We all click that button without a second thought.
President and founding father John Adams once declared, quote, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people."
Our heavy and historic constitutional gavel represents the 3 branches of government
and thus a very delicate and necessary balance of power.
Every time we click accept without considering the consequences, we might be considering rights that people have fought and died to protect.
Adams knew what we seem to have forgotten.
Every time we share something online, we are shaping the future of free speech. And every time we disregard privacy settings, we undermine the protections that previous generations have worked to preserve.
That only a virtuous people can self-govern.
Honoring our Constitution and its principles are exactly the influence of American Legion oratory.
When we enter the digital world, we do not and we must not forfeit our constitutional rights.
This is the prescription for every American citizen.
Its opaque algorithms, not public discourse, decides which voices are heard and which are silenced.
If we wish to rule ourselves, we have the responsibility to rule well. We can only do that by focusing less on our own desires and more on how we can serve the common good.
We must understand our rights. We must demand transparency from companies that are collecting our data. And we must make sure that we, the people, remain stronger than we, the platform.
Our lives should be a powerful example of care for and service to our community, thereby helping to preserve the precious constitutional rights of all Americans. The civic virtue of Cincinnatus inspired George Washington to lead our new nation. Just imagine what our civic virtue could do for America.
So the next time before clicking that button, we must remain informed, vigilant, and proactive about safeguarding our rights, because our Constitution is only as strong as our willingness to understand, protect, and defend it.
The moment you all have been waiting for. The champion of the 86th American Legion National High School Oratorical Contest is Gina Harjani of Tennessee.
I think I'm overcome with so much emotion right now. The feeling doesn't feel real. I've learned so much from this program, and this scholarship is just, I'm so grateful for it, and I will definitely use it in the future for college. I will be attending Vanderbilt University this fall as a Cornelius Vanderbilt Scholar. It's been amazing. I've met so many different people, and I've learned so much from them, and I really think that I've made connections that will last me a lifetime, and I've just built this community and this family that have done nothing but support me, and I'm just beyond grateful. It has given me, I would say, a lifetime of experience and lessons and memories that I will take with me forever. I am Gina Harjani, and I am the 2025 American Legion Oratorical Contest winner.
We wouldn't have the abilities that we do today without our veterans, and that's the honest to God truth. Specifically, the American Legion and the American Legion Auxiliary are willing to support youth like they do today. It has given me so much hope for the future.
It does make me a little bit emotional when I talk about it because I have such respect for them, and it's been very sweet to see them so supportive of me. They're so kind and they care about our future. It's clear that they look around and they are so inspired by us, which makes me feel better about myself, but it also reminds me that there are amazing people out there.
They have had a lasting impact on my life. They have taught me so much about being a citizen in our country.
Through these programs, through these scholarships, through these youth camps, what I see is people who have already dedicated their life to service, continuing that on.
The young minds of America are being shaped by contests like these, and my life has specifically had such a significant impact because of the American Legion.
They put on so many youth scholarship things, and the reason they do it is because they really want to help us. It's just a whole nother level of service, a bunch of self-sacrifice, which is the biggest form of love, and it's just so sweet to see what all they do for us. They're doing it because they actually care about our future, which is really cool and amazing, so it's very inspirational to me.
Each of the veterans and the people of the American Legion that I've met have done nothing but completely support me.
The impact that these programs have on people is really remarkable, and it lasts a really, really long time. The skills you learn as well.
This new community that I've found, and I've really just learned a lot from them, and I've really been able to make my own family now with the American Legion that I know that I'll be able to rely on later on in the future.
The oratorical competition, if you've done anything speech and debate related in the past, goes above and beyond what you're used to, and it will challenge you more than anything you've ever experienced.
Is a great way to get involved and not only learn about your Constitution, but also learn about your rights as a citizen.
It's been one of the biggest blessings in my life. You come out of it such a more educated citizen, and you make these wonderful networking connections with other people.
It'll also bring you around people that are maybe a lot like you, and that will also challenge you to be better. You're going to find that if we just would put in the effort to learn about our Constitution a little bit more, we'll have a great love for it, and we'll be able to share that love with others.
Anyone who's younger and watching this to do it, because it truly will open so many windows of opportunity into your life.
Definitely encourage to join this program early and really get involved in it and in your American Legion, because there is something that you are definitely going to be taking out of this, whether it's public speaking, whether it's learning about your rights, or just meeting new people. So I would definitely encourage participating in the American Legion Oratorical Contest.
Start.
I think a lot of the stereotype around shooting in general is it's a man's sport. There are so many girls here that just dominate. I think it's a good opportunity for those kids that don't necessarily want to be involved in team sports, and it's great for both females and males to compete that way.
Junior shooting is an exceptional sport because it's a unique discipline where they're really competing against themselves.
It is a sport that is growing. Just makes me so proud to be an American when these kids are having a good time.
My daughter was very introvert since she's been in the whole program with the ROTC and the shooting. It's involved her, it made her mature, self-dependent, independent, and has given her a lot of leadership qualities.
I would say that it's a constant challenge. I think that that's super fun. And I think it's great that we all get to come together and enjoy the thing that we all love and get to know each other better, and it's a great match. The way to beat the other competitors is to beat myself.
We only had a couple of kids that were actually shooting in the American Legion program, and then as the years have gone by, we've added more kids to it, and the Legion's been really excited about having more kids showing up. This is one of the only matches that we've ever attended where our expenses are paid. We're traveling here, and American Legion is helping us with that. All of the other matches we attend, it's the parents that are supporting the kids to get there.
It offers them a chance to do the shooting sports and stuff like that, but it also offers them the chance to kind of gain a respect for our past service members. It'll teach them a little bit of respect, again, a little bit of patience. You can't go in and just do stuff fast, and so that patience a lot of times will transfer into other things in life.
You have to stay disciplined throughout the match and stay focused throughout the match and have the discipline to be consistent in everything that you do in this sport. That's the biggest challenge of it.
You can't dwell on the shots that you've already taken. Do the best you can do with what you have available. Basically shows how much effort you put into the sport.
Shooting has gave my daughter discipline and a lot of confidence. We're really thankful to American Legion for making things happen for her.
The American Legion has been a really big part of my shooting career because it was one of the very first big matches I ever shot when I was younger, because there's regionals and then there's championships. Shooting has taught me patience. I've learned a lot about friendships and about how to maintain connections with people.
My wife and I are very competitive, and we wanted to form something that got kids to learn how to be competitive and learn how to achieve excellence. And we learned real quickly as members of the American Legion that the American Legion had a junior shooting sports program. So we reached out to our local post, and it turned out they had already been reaching out to high schools in our area and were very interested in forming a partnership.
Yes, it's about guns and shooting, but it's all the things that lead up to it. Self-discipline. We're teaching them gun safety.
We're teaching them focus. We're teaching them the education part of the program. So these kids out here don't drink soda pop. They don't eat candy. They are so dedicated, motivated. That's the draw.
Sons of the American Legion can get involved and sponsor a team. The auxiliary can sponsor a team. So it's just not the American Legion. It's the American Legion family that can sponsor the team.
I am confident that Legionnaires and members of the Sons of the American Legion, even members of the American Legion Auxiliary, if they knew how simple it was to begin this program in their post, would welcome it with open arms. It's an exciting thing, and it can really engage the community of youth in their area to get into this. And of course, that post grows and it gains, and it becomes even more of a staple of the community if they have a junior shooting sports program. Now, we owe it to them to show them how simple that is, and that's what we're doing moving forward.
There is a place where you can request a manual to become a range officer, and it will take you through the steps on how to conduct a shooting program. Get a gun, get a backdrop, get cardboard, get your targets. If you want to upgrade your equipment, upgrade your rifles, do fundraisers to help promote these shooters to be able to give them better gear as you move forward. You don't have to start there, but you can end up there.
In general, with the shooting community, as we said, it's a lot of a family.
Each year I come to the junior shooting program, I'm always impressed by the young men and the young ladies that are participating in our program, not only because of their expertise in shooting, but just the camaraderie that these young people have together when they come together at these matches, and how they just become friends, and you just see it spilling over and how they root for one another.
I have always been all about the kids. I love the junior shooting sports program, and we get to see the best of the best.
People hear about the sport of shooting, and there's a little bit of a natural hesitancy. It's not something to be afraid of, not something to fear, not something that's intimidating in any way. If anything, it's going to develop their young son or young daughter beyond their expectations.
Start.
and
really
then
well.
and then I can let Matt Schumann in there. There's another guy named Jacob who worked for the American Legion at one time.
Perfect.
He has another government contractor type thing. And I think there was a kid named Brandon Posner who worked here before. I mean, was involved in the competition.
Almost familiar.
He was a contestant in 2013-14.
Did he do speech from the Bay by chance?
He could have when he was younger, I bet.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know who he works for now.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll shoot you an email.
looked at it. That, the phone, and the picture taking.
Yeah, and it's like we're saying the same thing.
Is that Mr. Dave walking in?
Not me one bit.
Yep, it looks like him. That means the judges should be
That's what I would do with them. We can always go get another cutting board from him. Eventually he's going to stop making cutting boards.
We have white smoke. Okay.
Me and Bob to do the pass out the awards, right? Same as we always do.
Sure.
When we put it over to me, he said they're getting women's benefits. They get everything up take a picture of it. Wanted to know that we wanted to have people like they go to get in the picture. I have to talk to the boss. So I said, I doubt it. I said, don't worry about it. That's what I said.
Now, when they take, that we're going to take a big.
Yeah, I did. I told them.
And if they want to come down and hold it.
Okay. If I see it.
All right. Mr. Commander.
Yeah.
Mr. Commander. Dan. Come up. Mr. Chairman.
Welcome. Yeah, you guys stand right there. Right, exactly. Same we did before.
Make sure we got everybody. We got 5 judges. We got 3 kids. Okay. Ready? Okay. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Before we make the formal introductions of our contestants and our judges panel, I would like to first recognize a few of our distinguished guests. This morning, we are pleased to have with us the National Commander of the American Legion, Mr. Dan Wiley. Thank you for joining us. I would also like to introduce the National Adjutant for the Sons of the American Legion. Is Anthony Wright with us? Right here. Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge the gentleman who is serving as the chairman of the American Legion's Americanism Commission, which has the policy-making responsibility for the American Legion National High School Oratorical Contest, Mr. Mark Avis. I would like to introduce Miss Diana Surovina. She is the Americanism Chairman for the American Legion Auxiliary. Diana, thank you for being here. And last but not least, Mr. Chris Casey. He is the National Vice Commander of the Sons of the American Legion. I truly want to thank publicly all of the people who have assisted with the final contest today, the quarterfinals and the semifinals, without whom this national contest could not be possible. The judges, the timekeepers, the assigned topic preparation room monitors, the ushers, the escorts, and everyone. Would you all please stand, everyone who has helped like that? At this time, I'd like to recognize our outstanding panel of judges. As your name is called, would you please come forward to be recognized? Jason Vanderhayden is the retired Master Chief Petty Officer of the United States Coast Guard, and he was the 13th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard from May 2018 to May of 2022. He was the senior enlisted member of the Coast Guard and the principal advisor to the Commandant on all enlisted matters. He was born in Tallahassee, Florida, and enlisted the Coast Guard in 1988. He graduated from Class 114 of the Petty Officer Academy and completed advanced courses at National Defense University, Harvard Kennedy School, and the International Academy of Gourmet Chefs.
Wikipedia.
Well,
I can't believe everything.
He has received multiple service awards, the Distinguished Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, and many others. Jason, thank you so much for being here. Robert Warren currently oversees several of the USAA's military affinity partnerships to include the American Legion. He has over 30 years of organizational leadership. He's building strong collaborative relationships and promoting military and military family resilience. He served as a non-commissioned officer in the United States Army's Military Intelligence Corps. He's performed a wide variety of national security missions, including combat aerial intelligence and supervisory duties in a 24-hour multi-service environment responding to time-sensitive national defense requirements. He is a combat veteran of Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, graduated from the U.S. Army's Defense Language Institute. Robert, thank you for being here, sir. Bridget Wagner. She is the executive director of the Edwin J. Fulner Institute at the Heritage Foundation. She joined the Heritage Foundation in 1981 and has held multiple senior roles. Her work in coalition building and policy promotion earned the Heritage President's Award and the Royal Award from State Policy Network. Outside of the Heritage, she serves on boards of many organizations. She is also on the selection committee for the Claire Booth Luce Program for Women in STEM. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics from the University of Dallas, and she has also completed leadership programs in the Tuck School of Business, Dartmouth, and the Georgetown University for continuing and professional education. Ms. Bridget, thank you so much. Mr. Mario Marquez. He serves as the executive director of government affairs for the American Legion in Washington, D.C., where he leads the organization's legislative and policy efforts on behalf of American veterans. He oversees multiple divisions, including legislative, national security, veterans affairs and rehabilitation, veterans education and employment, and serves as our senior liaison to Congress, the White House, and federal agency. He is a retired United States Marine Corps Sergeant Major. Hoorah. He's held many leadership roles, combat logistics, and operational units. He serves on the board of Veterans Consortium Pro Bono Program. Mario, Sergeant Major? Yes, sir. Appreciate you being here. Thank you. James Baca. James Baca is the executive director at the national headquarters in Indianapolis Indiana, for the American Legion. He is a Coast Guard veteran, serving as a senior chief with experience in various opening conditions and locations. Prior to taking the executive director of the American Legion, he was serving as an alternate national executive committeeman for the Department of New Mexico, as well as on the board of director of New Mexico Boys State Program. Prior volunteer positions, the American Legion also include commander's representative to the Revenue Enhancement Committee and later the Marketing Committee. James, thank you for being here, sir. Now, I would like to introduce you to these three greatest Americans. Wow. Appearing as contestant number 1 from Pennsylvania. Go ahead and stand up, come on. Is Judah Donnelly, and he is a senior at Abington Heights High School in Pennsylvania. Judah, great job, thank you. Everybody, hold up. As contestant number 2, Wendy Gluski, and she is a senior at Basis Scottsdale High School in Arizona. Thank you so much. And appearing as contestant number 3, Juliet Hetzel from Colorado. She is a senior, homeschooled. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the announcement of the outcome of this contest. The winner of a $20,000 scholarship is Judah Donnelly. Be seated. The winner of a $22,500 scholarship is Wendy Gluski from Arizona. And the champion of the 87th American Legion National High School Oratorical Contest is Juliet Hetzel from Colorado. She is the winner of a $25,000 scholarship and an all-expense-paid trip to the National Convention of the American Legion in Louisville, Kentucky this summer as a member of the American Legion Youth Champions delegation. Let's give them another big round of applause. They're great. Yeah. We'll be honoring all 53 national contestants this afternoon at 1 p.m. at the awards luncheon to be held at the Searle Center. We ask everyone to please honor the seating assignments in the banquet room. Contestants will be seated toward the front of the room as guests of honor so they may receive their recognition. All other ticket holders are welcome to be seated at any table with a table tent that's reading general seating. You must have a ticket to attend. I would ask that at the conclusion of this contest, in just a few minutes, that all 53 contestants remain here in the auditorium. Actually, they're going to be coming right up here for pictures. And now, ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise and uncover. Father, thank you so much for these students, for all 53, for the words of wisdom that they have given us. Father, we ask you to bless them, help them in their future, take care of them, and let them be great citizens. And Father, thank you so much for letting us be a part of this program so that we may help these students. And Father, as always, before we leave, please, for our men and women who are wearing that uniform today in harm's way, hold them in your hands, take good care of their lives, and bring them home safely to the ones that love them. Amen. Amen. Please recover. Join me in a hand salute. Hand salute. 2. This concludes the 87th American Legion High School Oratorical Scholarship Program, a Constitutional Speech Contest National Finals. Thank you for attending. Okay, hang on, let me just get my stuff out of the way.
Do you need us any longer? Do we see you somewhere?
Yes. If you